My name is Eric Smith, and this is an excerpt from my autobiographical series, My Life, and not so much a nutshell, but more of a melon rind. And this is from the fourth of those four books. On Sunday, October 27th, I went to Slaughterland Scream Park with Chum Robbie and his girlfriend Heaven. Chum had gotten us the tickets. The park's tagline says, 4 horrifying attractions over 100 acres of terror. It reminded me of the time that the stick haunted house, but a little better. We had to sign a waiver in the beginning. It turned out that Rachel Stanley worked at the park. She took our tickets, returning the stubs. I have to tell you that there is a hands-off rule, she said. Sounds reasonable. We started down a poorly lit path with an occasional rubber head on a spike. The first attraction we came to was the Wendigo Woods, where we were stopped on the path by a wizard who wouldn't have looked out of place in New Orleans. When we moved on from him, we got to a building called Dark Magic. Inside there were no lights except the occasional corner. The thing is that the walls were set up as a labyrinth type of place, except that you could only go forward or backward. You couldn't get lost with more than 2 people, though I doubt 2 would either, to be honest. It was just mostly cramped darkness as Robbie led the pack. He could see a little bit better than the rest of us, so it seemed smart to just have him lead. Heaven had his hand. I grabbed Heaven's hoodie, and Chum had my hoodie. His biggest issue was the size of the corridors. Chum was a pretty big guy and had some difficulty. At one point, in a dimly lit area, the way forward was through a thin inflated tube. It moved with you, obviously, since it was inflated. Just a bit more cramped. We finally made it through a door and found ourselves outside. After a bit of walking, mostly uphill, we came across the next attraction. We were stopped by a sentry who had a watch. She had us wait a few minutes to separate us from the group before. Chum managed to slip and fell in the mud while we waited. "Man down," Robbie and I said as we stepped over to help him up. The sentry handed us all a pair of thin plastic 3D glasses. We started off to the building, which had a pretty trippy spiraled entrance. The effect of the glasses made it look really cool. This attraction was called Frightmares 3D. It was set up like the previous attraction, except that there was plenty of lighting. The walls popped out with the glasses. Outside the building, there were 2 more sentries who accepted our trippy spectacles and directed us to the next path. This one led to the Fallen Fairgrounds. The sign above the circus entrance said Carn Evil, with a scary clown painted between the 2 halves of the word. At the end of the tour, there was a bonfire and beer provided by the Water Street Brewing Company. We had a nice time. They asked us to give them a review on Facebook. I hope this works instead. I enjoyed myself, and I would go back again. On the way home, about half a mile down Airport Road, we ran into a snag. Chum's tire had gone flat. He pulled to the side of the road to inspect. We waited for Chum's dad to come collect us. He left the car there until morning. "I'll get it fixed tomorrow," Chum said, and we climbed into the pickup truck. The next day, Chum and I finished Game of Thrones. I was completely in support of Queen Daenerys until she burned down the city of King's Landing. Then I knew she had to die. Thank you, Jon Snow. Long live King Brendan the Broken, the 3-eyed raven.